What event in your life made you think that these were the last minutes of your life? Having an 80-years-old guy in a Honda minivan make a left turn right in front of me while I was doing 60 miles per hour. On a Harley. I was in an elevator with several other people when it malfunctioned, descended but wouldn't stop at any of the floors, and slammed into the bottom of the shaft, breaking my leg in the process. We were worried it would try to ascend again and drop us again, so two other uninjured riders pried the interior doors open, hoping the locking mechanism would stop us from being smashed repeatedly against the shaft floor. I was sitting on the floor in severe pain listening to the other riders scream, and a couple really intense panic attacks had me genuinely thinking, this is the end. A true panic attack feels like a heart attack. Choked on a piece of steak at dinner. My thought was literally, this is how it ends. Epidural failed mid-C-section. Instead of knocking me out, they held me down while I screamed. The whistle of the missile as it went over my head in Afghanistan. I lost consciousness while I was visiting my twins in the NICU. I swear it was just black forever, but then was told I was only out for a few seconds. Turned out I had a pulmonary embolism from my C-section, so it very well could have easily killed me. I got pulled under and thrown against the ocean floor by a rip current in Florida when I was 15. I literally was like, well, this is it, and just gave up and went limp, and it spit me out. When my parents got our cell phone bill and saw how many texts I sent, back in the early 2000s it cost .10 a text, it was hundreds of dollars. I am lucky I survived. I was in the hospital with a freak illness that they couldn't get under control. I was advised by multiple doctors to start talking to my family about end-of-life plans. I had just turned 20. Car hydroplaning on the highway. Everything went quiet in my head for a few seconds. I just remember thinking this is it before I somehow got control back. Ballistic Missile Day, Hawaii 2018. I started hallucinating and running a fever while in severe alcohol withdrawal. I was so afraid of acknowledging my alcoholism to anyone else, even medical professionals, that I wasn't even considering medical detox as an option. I got really lucky by not dying. I grew up in an evangelical family during the Cold War. If the Soviets didn't bomb us, Jesus was going to come back and cast me into a lake of fire. Every minute could be my last minute. One of the reasons my life turned out the way it did is because I never planned for a future that I thought was never going to happen. Afghanistan. RPG fired at the diesel jingle truck in front of me. It was a dud. Actually, basically, my whole time in the army. Every one of the 17 jumps I did. 2009 fking sucked. Car spun out on black ice on the Trans-Canada, slid through the ditch and up into oncoming traffic. We'd been seeing 18-wheelers heading in the other direction every 15 seconds. In the ditch we knew this was it, and were expecting to see oncoming headlights, shattering glass, and then nothingness. Had this clear image of cops showing up at my sister's door. Amazingly, there was a minute-long gap with no oncoming traffic at all, and we booted it back to the correct lane. Moving an excavator down a steep mountain road in winter, started sliding on the icy road, heavy metal tracks on the machine acting like skates. Picking up speed, suicide corner in front of me, where the side of the road dropped off about 100 foot into a canyon. Managed to slam my boom into the ground, which jolted the machine into the ditch on the high side, and finally stopped it. Passenger in a small truck and hydroplaning off I-95 doing about 90 miles per hour, surrounded by nothing but woods. Seriously thought I was going to die. When I was drunk walking on highway at 19, got drugged by my legs shoved in a car by a complete stranger at 2 a.m. Yes, help me get sober. I woke up during a flight to an unbearable headache, stomach pain, and nausea. My body started tingling and went numb, then my ears began to ring, and the world spun. I was 15 years old and I'd passed out before from running. I was very into track at the time, but it was a completely different sensation. I remember thinking I was dying and feeling surprisingly calm and strangely euphoric. It turned out that the passenger sitting in front of me was a doctor, so I probably would have survived even if I had. Status epilepticus 6 months ago. My back and chest still hurt every day. Crowd surged to get into a U2 concert at a stadium back during the Joshua Tree Tour 1987. Packed us in tight. Wouldn't open secondary doors to arenas yet. Then just one or two doors were opened, and the crowd shifted and surged. I lost hold of my brother's hand, and my feet were literally off the floor. We were floating. I kept telling myself, don't fall, don't fall. It was hard to breathe too from the crush of the people. Obviously, it worked out, but I couldn't help think of the Who concert tragedy. Heart attack 2 years ago. If my teenage daughter wasn't home that day to call the ambulance, I probably would have been gone. Won't go into too much detail, but let's just say sitting alone in my empty apartment. Decoration for my birthday up, a cake sitting in front of and all of my friends and run mates at the wedding of my ex to the guy she cheated on me with. And no one bothered to tell me she was having on that day. In early 2010, I was the last man getting on a V-22 Osprey at the end of a weeks-long mission in Afghanistan. We each had at least 150 pounds of gear, so it was quite impossible to buckle any type of seat belt on the bench seats on either side. Also, because we were so wide, I got a sliver of the end of the bench to sit on. We took off, and the pilot immediately did a banking maneuver and fired off a bunch of flares, then accelerated hard. I assumed we were taking RPG fire. I started sliding off of the